Tomorrow is President's Day, a day when we honor our nation's greatest leaders. And a perfect opportunity for Mo Rocca to tell us about the man considered one of the worst.
Andrew Johnson.
Do some people come in thinking it's Andrew Jackson?
Oh, lots of times, absolutely.
Warren Harding.
You want to shake hands with the hand that shook hands with Harding?
Wow!
No survey of our worst presidents.
So Millard Fillmore's lips were on that teacup.
Yes.
Would be complete without our 14th president, Franklin Pierce, the only president from New Hampshire.
The funny thing is people from New Hampshire don't really like him that much, so.
Joan Woodhead is president of the Pierce Brigade.
We have a shirt that belonged to Franklin Pierce, and you can see it says F. Pierce.
Founded in 1966 to rescue Concord, New Hampshire's Pierce Manse from destruction and to salvage the reputation of the man who once lived here.
He was known as a really good-looking president, is that right?
Yes, he was. Harry Truman thought he was the most handsome president we had in the White House up until his time.
But why is Harry Truman the arbiter of good-looking presidents?
Well, I don't know. That's the only comment we have from another president.
He may have been the most handsome man ever to serve in the White House.
And, says University of Virginia's Michael Holt, Franklin Pierce had a great personality.
He was probably the most amiable president we've ever had. Even historians who are hostile to him remark about how pleasant and friendly he was.
At Bowdoin College, he began a lifelong friendship with the future great American novelist Nathaniel Hawthorne. Hawthorne would write Pierce's campaign biography.
It's probably not as interesting as some of his novels.
Right. It's no Scarlet Letter.
No, it's no Scarlet Letter. Thank God for that, right?
Injured after falling off his horse during the Mexican-American War, Pierce, a Democrat, served in both houses of Congress. A compromise candidate, he won his party's nomination for the presidency on the 49th ballot.
We polled you in 44. We shall pierce you in 52.
That is a great slogan.
Yes, it is.
Pierce was elected in a landslide.
What good things did he do in office?
While Professor Holt composes himself, let's return to the Pierce Manse, where we learn about Pierce's reforms to the Postal Service.
Stamps were perforated under Pierce.
Right, so that it was easier for people to separate the stamps.
Yeah, he's the postage stamp guy.
Gary Sparks is a volunteer guide at the Manse.
He also helped ensure that American farmers had a goodly supply of guano.
Guano?
Guano, yeah.
The Guano Islands Act of 1856, signed into law by Pierce, scooped up the rights to unclaimed islands rich with guano, a.k.a. bird poop. A natural fertilizer prized at the time by American farmers. FYI, Midway, site of a pivotal battle in World War II, is one of those islands.
So did this result in the mass importation of guano?
It resulted in a good steady flow of guano, yeah.
So why then does Pierce have such a crappy reputation?
Because he played a major role in bringing on the Civil War.
There's that.
In 1854, Pierce signed into law the Kansas-Nebraska Act, allowing voters in the Kansas and Nebraska territories to decide whether to allow slavery within their borders, negating the earlier Missouri Compromise, which had prohibited slavery in those areas.
He made a terrible mistake in endorsing the Kansas-Nebraska Act and then jumping in with both feet on the pro-Southern side.
In Kansas, violence broke out between pro- and anti-slavery forces in a kind of preview of the Civil War. And the outrage in northern states was so intense, it led to the creation of the Republican Party.
He thought making concessions to Southerners was what was necessary to preserve the Union.
Not even Pierce's hometown could forgive him for the Kansas-Nebraska Act.
They burned him in effigy in Concord because of his pro-Southern actions.
Pierce's political woes could only be matched by his personal ones. All three of his and his wife Jane's children died young. 11-year-old Benny, the last surviving one, killed in a train accident traveling with his parents just 2 months before Pierce's inauguration. The grief was almost more than First Lady Jane Pierce could bear.
Sort of went into mourning, draping the White House in black, and really didn't come out in public until almost the end of 1854, almost 2 full years into the administration.
After a single term in office, Pierce sought renomination, but was rejected by his party. He returned to New Hampshire in 1857 to a home that later burned down. Only the front steps of this house remain.
After Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, every house on this stretch, except Pierce's, displayed an American flag in commemoration of the great emancipator. An angry mob assembled, asking why Pierce wasn't paying respect. He mollified the crowd by explaining that he too was sad, but that his long years of service spoke louder than the display of a flag.
Franklin Pierce died in 1869 at age 64.
Does Franklin Pierce deserve his ranking as one of our worst presidents?
I'm not trying to dodge this one. I don't think Pierce comes down as one of our best presidents in any way. But he wasn't a terrible, awful person.